Hello. It's John Binnie, and I'm in the very sunny city of Dundee. So this is a 2-hour drive. Let me show you where I am. So I'm in the city centre. We're very close to it, and I'm here for my Indian head massage training, which is lovely. It went really well, so it was for my assessments. And I feel like today's theme will be about my paranormal experiences in my life, and I don't intend to limit that discussion in any way. So just making sure I'm going the right way. And where do I start? I'm drawn to one of the most. I'm just having the GPS chat with me. I think that building up there is one of the core houses, or next to one of the university buildings I went to when I was at university here, doing computing. But yeah, one of the first paranormal experiences that I was guided to share about was an experience when I think I was 17 years old, and I might have turned 18. Not entirely sure the exact year, but I remember where I was vividly. I was working as a waiter, and it's funny because I spent most of my time doing dishes, pots and pans, and some basic food prep at a hotel in North Berwick, where I grew up, called the Blenheim Hotel. It's no longer a hotel. It's now very expensive housing. It was converted. And I don't know if you live there and you're listening to this, then this might interest you. So one of the first things to share is that there were stories of it being haunted. But this experience didn't feel really like a haunting. It felt more targeted at me. So picture this: you're in a beautiful little hotel, family-run business, in a Scottish seaside town, and it is somewhere in I'm guessing the early 90s. If I do the maths, yeah, was it the 90s? Well, yeah, early 90s. And I'm there late at night in. It's an old hotel. The hotel's like 18, built in 18 something. Maybe let's guess 1850. I don't know. Maybe it's even older. I'm the last person. There's one person, member of staff, on at the bar, and I'm in this big old. Dining room. The lights are off in the dining room, and I'm busy polishing cutlery, which is kind of laid out at the side for easy access for waiters and waitresses to use when serving meals. The fascinating first experience I had, paranormal experience that night, was the whole kitchen is shut down. it must have been around 9 o'clock at night. And there was a little serving door between like a staff door, and it was one of these doors that swung backwards and forwards, so it was like on double hinges. And it was in the corner of the dining room, so you could go through that door, and it would take you into through a little corridor, past like a tiny little staff room, like a little box room, and then take you into the kitchen area. And it was quite common for me to be sat there. I was working hard. I was stood there. It was quite common while I was serving there for the owner to stick their head through this little glass pane on the door that they kind of put their head close against and take a look through. And this is a lovely drive, isn't it? What happened was, I thought I saw the owner, and I knew them well. They were lovely. They stuck their head through, peered through the glass, and there was no urgency for me to respond or anything. Like, it was just they were often just checking to see. I think often they were just checking to see everything was closed down, the lights were off, all these things. So that's what I thought I'd seen, but there was something different, and I think what caught my eye was that the owner was on the shorter side, but their husband and their son, who kind of lived on the hotel property, they were taller. I think the son was around 6 foot, maybe 6'1". So, your first instinct is it the owner? No. Well, if not, maybe it's one of the family members, which is rarer, but it could still happen from time to time. For example, if they're looking for the owner, their mum or wife. So I was almost done doing my cutlery, and I put the cutlery down, and then I went. I think I was carrying like the empty. My guess is that's right. It was an empty tray, so I would have carried the cutlery through the clean cutlery through to the dining room on a tray, and then just walked back. Now, I'm like 17 and just feeling pretty joyous, and I remember I would just walk back. Often I'd be singing or humming, and it was like a big kind of empty area and it was at the end of the hotel, and it wasn't near any guest rooms. It's like on its own little extension. So I'd often like be singing away while I'm doing the mopping afterwards, or cleaning up in the kitchen area. And what I did was I then ended up walking through this double door at the corner of the dining room, the staff door, what I've been talking about with the glass pane. So I walked through, and there was this, what I thought initially was a person stood there in the doorway of the staff room, and I pass it by, so I'm walking at a right angle, like perpendicular, right? Walking perpendicular to this, what I thought was a person, and they were tall, really, really tall, and so I felt like that must be the son. I'm sure the son was taller than the father by an inch or two, and this is hard to see. This is really hard to see in the camper van. Just give me a second. There is not a good angle for visibility. Anyway, so I walked through past this person, so I thought, and they were, how to describe it? standing, facing out of the doorway, like standing like in the doorway itself. And they kind of like, there was almost like a sigh from them. It was like oh, I'm going left here. And they were very, what really caught my attention was that their energy was very low. They were looking down on me like I was some sort of scumbag, you know, like I was not a nice, you know, they were like treating me like trash, you know, as I walked past. And that I found quite shocking, because it was always such a friendly place to work, and it was just so rare, you know, you'd never really experienced that kind of vile reaction from people, and so you certainly weren't used to it from an energetic perspective, from a mood perspective. So I continued to walk forwards, and I walked into the kitchen area, and it did really startle me. So I put down, this is like within 2 seconds, right? Because you can tell I've not had that many thoughts. Just other than that was like, that was horrible. And I put down the tray and I turned around, there is no one there. So I just call out like, hello. I shout out the name of the owners and the family. No, none of them there. And I found that shocking. And so I kind of walked and I snooped around the area. I looked through the large kitchen area at the back. I looked around all the surrounding rooms, no one. And the thing is, my phone is overheating. And the thing is, just checking my phone temperature. Yeah, it's hot. Don't know how long this video will keep going for. I need to figure out a way for my phone not to overheat. So yeah, I ended up just going through to the bar area and sharing what happened. And as I described it in more detail to the barmaid, who's a friend of my now wife, she was my girlfriend at the time. Like, it was just, yeah, it was quite shocking. I felt like this being, its form was dark and like a very heavy energy to it, and it felt that it was tall and dense and very unhappy and a horrible energy. And the first thing I did is went and sat down at the bar and I asked for a pint of, and at that time I think I used to drink Guinness, so I had a pint of Guinness. And I just said, I think I've seen a ghost. And I didn't know about, you know, beings that are negative towards you or demons or anything like that. You know, other than maybe I've heard about movies and things like that, but didn't really know anything like what I know today. And so that was that. And I never thought, other than a really cool story, having seen this being, and I saw it very clearly in the corner of my eye as I passed it, because it was stood right over me, like towering over me. You know, I'm 5'7", so it was much taller than me. In fact, you know, reflecting on it, I suspect it probably was taller than 6'1", maybe as high as 6'5", maybe a little bit higher. And when I look back on the experiences that I had after that in my life, it's true. Things got a lot darker for me. I went into, I was, because I was at university right after that, and I think it happened during my first year of university. So I went to university at 17. And it would have been just like crossing over into my 18th birthday. So yeah, that was really fascinating, that suddenly, after seeing that being, that suddenly I'm, experiencing just very different changes in my life. I had problems with alcohol, a lot of problems with cannabis. I was always trying to, I lacked a lot of self-love and self-worth. In many respects, I was on a downward spiral to of self-destruction, right? I was almost like I was trying to get out of university, trying to fail what I was doing. Now I don't blame that entity, right? But I can't ignore the linkage. And the reason why I say I don't blame the entity is because I think I really resonate with this saying that we create our own demons. And one way of thinking about this is that demons in many respects are here to teach us something, right? To teach us something like can of juice, teach us a vulnerability in ourselves. Teaches that we're lacking boundaries, or there's an unhealed part of us. And even if they're not consciously trying to help you or trying to teach you, what they are doing is they're they're a frequency match for your vulnerability, for your wound. So what you're experiencing is this aspect of yourself being reflected back to you by some being that is doing something to hurt you, right? And I don't consider that consent. I didn't give consent for that thing to scare me initially or attach to me, but it, even for the experience that I had alone, such a huge amount of experience was gained, growth, should I say, was gained through those very difficult remaining times that I had during my university years, the 3 years at university, the 2 following years. Yeah, they were really tough. So that's one experience, and I'm just asking myself as I'm talking, did I ever, notice a time when if this entity was attached, did I ever notice a time when it left? And I feel like not explicitly, that something did happen around the time I left university, and it was not a conscious date, event, or thing that happened for me, but something like by the time I left university and I started looking for a job, there was a 7-month gap, and so in those 7 months I had no job, and I really cleaned up my act, right? I was even though I was still drinking alcohol, I could only afford 2 or 3 drinks a week. So, and I would save it and have the cheapest alcohol I could get, often the cheapest cider that didn't taste much like paint stripper. Not that I don't know what that tastes like, but it's like a joke, right? That's right, it was called White Lightning. It was 99 pence for a litre. Or it must be more, maybe it was like 2 litres, I'm not sure. But yeah, it was pretty nasty. And often I couldn't finish like what I'd bought because it just tasted so bad. But, you know, it was alcohol, and it was some way of treating myself at the end of the week. And I spent a lot of time looking for jobs. Managed to get a few interviews and things, but I also just focused on, you know, cleaning up my act, my finances, I started running on and off at least. I'd also started to give up smoking. It was really hard to afford smoking. And during that 7 months when I was unemployed, which 7 months still now feels like an eternity. I mean, it wasn't a full 7 months because I was still going home for holidays, and I would work while I was at home. I'd work back at that same hotel. But my relationship with money really, like, I formed the foundation, or like a reprogramming of my relationship with money during that 7 months, because I was so poor, really. And I didn't feel poor. I mean, I knew I couldn't afford many things. I really couldn't buy almost anything. And any spare cash I had would be going out and having a meal, or going out for dinner or something with my or out for some drinks with my wife or friends, especially when I was home during the summer and I had I was earning some money. Yeah, that was just a really fascinating journey. I remember just that experience of feeling like every penny counts. Just like this morning when I was yesterday morning when I was hoovering the kitchen on our home, and someone had dropped probably one of the kids had dropped a £1 coin on the floor. They're cool, the little golden coins. And I remember thinking, oh, it's just £1, doesn't really matter. And then I thought, hang on, I remember what it was like if I just found £1. That would make a big difference to me, and just finding £1 make a big difference to a lot of people in this world. So I picked it up, and I remember thinking, and also, John, the universe is always watching you. Like, if you're going to treat money with disrespect, like the energy of money, like almost like there's a threshold below which you don't care about it, then this is how the universe will see that. It's always watching. The universe is always watching, and you'll feel that back, right? You'll feel this. You'll experience a reality where the money doesn't matter, and it does matter, right? It still matters in our world very much. So yeah, that was one very big and powerful experience. Another happened to me, which was this was a dream. And I love that I can remember a dream from when I was, now I'm thinking I'm a little bit older, maybe around 18. So 18 years old, and I sleeping like I normally do, and I remember in this dream that I woke up. So this is all within the dream. It was a lucid dream where I wake up and get out of bed in my flat in Dundee. I walk down the hallway. Ooh, there's some really cool. Can you see them? There's 3 really cool UFO clouds. Hello, you're beautiful. Hello, hello, hello. They're just over to the left of me. I think they've just come out of camera view, but I feel like we're going to head back round. These 3 UFO ships look like large, 2 full moons in width, maybe 2.5 to 3. The one on the right, 2, the one in the middle, 2.5, and the one on the left, 3. I think that's just the distance they are. And they look like kind of, the word I'm hearing is like interstellar cruisers. So they're cruisers that can go very fast through space-time. Yeah, really beautiful. So yeah, back to the lucid dream. So I then get up out of bed, I walk down the hallway in my student flat, my Dundee flat, and I walk to the living room. And when I get to the living room, there is this big, beautiful, bright light, like sparkling in the corner of the room, and it's lighting up the room. And what was fascinating was, the lights were off. You could see the street lights outside, and they were having an effect on the. You could always see inside the flat because of the outside street lights quite bright. And it was up a floor. It was the first floor, so they're also right up at street light level. And what was so fascinating was I was experiencing a lot of excitement, a lot of love, and I knew that I recognized this light. And out through the light in the corner of the living room walked my rough collie childhood dog called Jess. And if you've ever seen the old Lassie TV show, and I think there was movies as well, Lassie the Wonder Dog, Lassie, she looked identical to Lassie, and she had like this big beautiful coat, and so she walked up to me, my dog, she walks up, and her coat of her fur was just beautiful. Like I can see it now. It felt very like glossy and thick. Her hair was beautiful, and yeah, she just felt really angelic. I'm just listening to the GPS, which I can't see anymore since my phone is overheating, but I can hear it. I'm gonna have to fix this for my for my drive down to Devon at the weekend. So yeah, that was incredible. But when I started stroking her, because I really missed her. It had been a few years, 3 to 4 years since she died, and I started stroking her coat, but there was no flesh underneath her coat. Her coat felt, beautiful and glossy, but there was no muscle, almost like just a bone wrapped in this beautiful glossy skin. And that's when I realized that this was not, just in case that big bright light wasn't enough to warn me. That's when I realized that actually this was not Jess alive, and that actually this probably wasn't a dream, that it was likely real. I was experiencing something, a different dimension. And I was stroking her, and then she puts her mouth, and she has like a big Lassie mouth, right? She has like big snout, beautiful dog, and she puts her mouth around my arm and hand, I think it's my left arm and hand, and starts biting at it, like gently, like she's doing it like, to like warn me to do something. And that's when I realized, I think I started saying to her, Jess, don't do that, why are you biting me, no biting. But she was like really determined, and she was biting at me, and I realized that she was like warning me. She was saying, you've got to stop, like what you're doing, and this is referring to like this kind of self-destruct behaviour that I was going through while I was at university. And that really shocked me. It shocked me in the moment, and I woke up. Like, I woke up out of the dream. And then also, I remember telling my wife, you know, when she woke up, I told her all about the dream, and she said, "Oh, that was really lovely." No, I won't go into detail about her dreams, but she's had a dream pet-related effects of premonition that came true. Pardon me. So that's, she felt, you know, that was a very magical experience for her. So just in case that, you know, dream by itself wasn't enough for you, that same day, now I'm not sure we ever really like fully like qualified the exact day, but thereabouts, I think it was maybe a day either side. So this happened either the day before it happened to me, the same day, or the day after, and it might have even happened at exactly the same time. Is my mother also had a very similar dream involving exactly the same dog, our dog Jess. Her dream was a bit different. She could her dog turned up at her front door. Jess turned up at her front door in her dream to her flat when she was living in North Berwick, and then started like wagging. I think she's saying like wagging her tail. And it almost like her tail was like going under the door, which was like physically impossible, but it was happening in the dream. And then she came in. It was just a wonderful experience, and that was so lovely to. When she told me this and we shared our dreams together, it felt very magical. It felt like a, you know, beautiful soul reaching out from the other side and connecting with us in just such a beautiful way. So yeah, I was just really, really grateful for that. And I also remember when I was at university, so this must have been not much longer after that, but I remember like falling asleep at a friend's house. We'd been basically partying for hours and hours, like it was a late night, and I'd fallen asleep on the floor, and I hadn't decided whether I was going to go home for the night or not. And I, you know, I was not sober for sure. I remember just like falling asleep, and then what started happening was there was this like guy in the room, like shouting at me, like saying like, "Look at you! Like, what are you doing? You know, you've got to get up and like sort yourself out." And all these things, like, you know, your life's a mess and you need to, you know, really pay attention. You're going to throw away all the good things in your life. And interestingly, as I woke up, that feeling of them being in the room was still there. And I don't just mean that kind of temporary, you know, kind of bleeding between realities of, you know, waking versus sleeping and vice versa. This felt very real, and I knew exactly where they were stood. They were stood kind of next to a wee kind of desk area, and it was like, even though I'd woken up, they were still like shouting at me. Like I could definitely feel the energy. I couldn't hear them anymore, and I felt like I could maybe see like an outline or like a shadow or some physical representation. And if I was to guess who this was, it was my grandfather on my mother's side, or grandpa as I call him. And that was really strong and really, really profound. It really shook me up in the moment, and I felt very, I guess I'd describe it as ashamed. At that moment I went into shame, but it did have the desired effect, or contributed to that in a way that it began to shift my mindset. I started to think, I'm young, I'm like 18, going on 19. I've got the opportunity to get a computing degree, and I think there was two things that I think that it felt like my grandpa was trying to tell me. One was that I've got to, get my studies sorted out, and then the other thing is my relationship with my now wife. Like I shouldn't be throwing that away at any time in my life. And it's not going to be good falling asleep at partying at someone's friend's house. I should be a responsible grown-up. And also, so that really had an effect, and it felt very real, and it really, as you can tell, it still sticks out in my mind and my memories. After that, and this happened a couple of times, that my mother has had, like, I'm sure she had a couple of like psychic meetings, and I remember they were on tape, and I remember listening to the tape, like a cassette tape, if you remember those, if you're old enough, like I am. Oh, and by the way, did you know you can buy like quite cheap USB cassette tapes, so you can like listen to your tapes on a computer or whatever? I think I bought one a few years ago, about £23. But yeah, what was fascinating was one of the readings, like my grandpa came through and was saying, like, giving a really similar message, like, and pointing out that when he was young, and I think around my age, he was a miner. He was a coal miner, and so he went from being a coal miner, and I think he also served in World War II. I think, and then and so he sees me in a life of privilege, and I'm not having to go down coal mines. I was rightly annoyed that I was throwing it away at the time. So that was just hugely powerful for me as well. Like they very much felt all these two things, that these were messages from beyond the grave, right? Like from the other side. Now you might be listening to these things now thinking, oh, that's so, John must have been like, he's always been so psychic, and like, no, these were kind of isolated blips, and they had a profound effect, in that sometimes I catch myself thinking about them, but by no means did it change my life, or my life, my outlook on life, or my view. So they were really powerful. And there may have been others around those years. I did a couple of really interesting things around those ages. So when I was 15, I remember I was thinking about becoming, I either wanted to join, just before I met my wife, I either wanted to join the Navy and be a technical artificer, which is like an electrical engineer, or I wanted to be a yacht deliverer, so it's delivering sailing boats by sailing them around the world. And that was really appealing to me, because I loved sailing. I used to go sailing all the time when I was a kid. with my father. I don't know if you can see, you probably see it's like a thin silver line above the road. There's something about these clouds that feel very intergalactic. Like just what do they call it? The Star Destroyer is the name of them in Star Wars. This one doesn't feel like a destroyer. Maybe it's like a star. Bertha. Bertha, lovely Bertha. Sometimes I think you're a dream. Where did I get to? But yeah, these were, profound but isolated experiences. I also experienced, and I don't really talk much about my experiences with drugs, but I did experiment briefly with LSD, and my experience, I'm not sure what age it would have been, 19. My experience of, it's my very first experience of it. And I'm just remembering now, it was called a Mick Jagger, and it had like a little, on the acid tab, which is a little bit of paper, it had a little picture of Mick Jagger. Is it Hot Lips album? Is that what it's called? And it's got like a mouth, like a big red lipstick and the tongue sticking out. Anyway, Mick Jagger. I remember when I had that, I went through what I now know to be a Kundalini activation, and I did not know what I was going through when it happened, and my friends I was with had no idea. In fact, I think they were a bit scared, and they were far more scared than I was. But what seemed to happen is, quite early on after I took it, this energy started bubbling up, and I can only describe it as like liquid flowing up from the base of my spine, because I didn't know about chakras, right? So I just felt it like it was going up my spine, and it was going up to the very top, to the occipital area, and kind of bubbling out, like releasing out. And I remember like moving my jaw around, and this energy like being very profound and flowing very very strongly. And I was telling other people about it. I was like, this is what's happening to me. Wow, this is amazing. And I just assumed that this was something everyone felt, or maybe if they didn't feel it at that time, that they'd feel it at some point. And then also quite a few like visions. I mean, I assumed that they were hallucinations, right? And I think this is really fascinating about hallucinogens and all kinds of different drugs. Is that depending on your belief system, you might believe that your mind is going crazy and making these things up, or you might believe that somehow these things are you can create this like altered states, and maybe your brain does like access some kind of alternative dimension. For me, I remember, and this is really before, I think the internet did exist back then. It only just started, and email was about the basics of it. You couldn't really find out much about drugs and different drugs, because it was so difficult to access literature on them. You could go to the library and ask about it. And what I found was that before I first took it, I wanted to find when people ask me, why would you take that? I'd say, because I want to find out what the rest of reality is about. And I remember this really clear mental model I had at the time, which was, I imagined almost like taking planet Earth and cutting it in half. So taking a ball, like a sphere, cutting in half, and that I felt that what I was experiencing in my reality was the kind of, I was standing on the ground on the cut in the middle of the sphere, and that there was another sphere on top that, you know, it was like this big dome of reality that I had never experienced. I didn't know what it was. So just like, another way of saying it, you know, explaining it, is that there was another half to reality that I'd never experienced, and I was really keen to learn about it and experience it. So that was one of the reasons, and also I was reckless, right? And I would just do crazy things. But I started to, in the visions that I had, I remember seeing this huge cylinder, and I'm sure this is like a visualization that also appears in the 90s like CGI film, The Lawnmower Man. I remember it looked like that, and I remember like seeing all these different like little lights in the cylinder, on the inside of the cylinder, and that each light was a soul, and they were like souls of like my family, friends, and loved ones. And it reminds me a bit of like something I've seen out of the Matrix or something. Very powerful. So then, what else happened? There are other visions just about seeing like I guess I was seeing the auras around people, and you know, now I reflect on like what it was. Now I kind of join my now knowledge and experiences to those psychedelic experiences. But that, I found that fascinating. I was like, oh wow, isn't that incredible? And I was just telling people, and I think it made people a bit, I don't think it was entirely pleasurable for people to be around me because I was so out there with these experiences. And that's definitely been a theme for me in my life. Everything's always so big, bold, and dramatic, right? At least my life events are. So, yeah, that was lovely to experience. I don't recommend you take any drugs. I don't recommend any, psychedelics, and I now know that those experiences with that can be far more vivid and enjoyable and interactive through meditation. And that what I've developed with my psychic abilities are, as a result of consistent and persistent, tenacious meditation practice. So these are, like, you don't need to take drugs to experience these altered states. But I get that they can be a bit of a shortcut, but they have their own risks. And now I would be so reluctant. I just right now I have no intention of taking any psychedelic, and it's not because I'm scared of me or my consciousness or what may come up or necessarily what I would experience, but I feel like it would leave me vulnerable to, in particular, demonic attack, because it feels a little bit like, I'm a professional boxer who then goes out looking for street fights, without his gloves on. It's like, I don't think that's necessarily a good idea. Now, I may change my mind, I get to choose, right? But that's just the way I feel about it right now. And for those of you that do experiment with different or have done, or intend to in the future with different drugs, just be really mindful and conscious about it, and know that these are not, they don't access a different reality from what you experience in meditation. Before I heard about different dimensions, I remember hearing about the astral plane, and that in the astral plane or astral realms, there wasn't just humans. There was, beings of light, and there was aliens, and then there was also, demons, etc. And I think that's a good way of thinking about it. Is like, do you want to turn up to these places? Oh, this is like an ancient hill fort to the right. Wow, it's really big. It's got 3 little turrets on the top, and they've got trees sticking out the top now. Beltane's coming up, so I don't know if it features as part of that. Beltane's next weekend. So yeah, that's just really. They were really powerful experiences, and I'm sure a lot happened during the time that I smoked cannabis. And bearing in mind it's not legal in the UK, but it is fascinating, right? That some people do use this as different drugs for like ayahuasca or cacao or mushrooms. They use these for different spiritual reasons. And all I can say is, please be conscious, use your discernment, make sure you get these from, if you are doing this, like, make sure you go to someone you can trust. And you can trust the supply. I mean, ideally, you grow these things yourself, right? Like, it's like consuming anything. And these are very powerful plants. Like, I remember one of my friends saying to me, if God didn't want us to consume cannabis, then he wouldn't have grown it on the earth, right? And I share all these things because I've never really spoken about these certainly in such detail, but I think I've said things like, you maybe heard me on a podcast saying the thing like, yeah, I've experimented a bit, or yeah, I had some. I never had a problem with LSD because it was short-lived, and it was mind-altering. It didn't really, you can't really function so easily. With cannabis, I did have a problem with, and it was on and off for several years. And alcohol, decades of problems with. And I'm glad to see the back of that. But so many people wouldn't consider that a problem that I had, right? And I would call myself, alcoholic or high functioning alcoholic, or just someone who is like, maybe many people would maybe just have looked at my consumption and said, oh, he's a heavy drinker, or he likes a drink. But we all get to choose how we see ourselves, right? And how, certainly compared to now, now I'm sober completely of any drug, well, other than caffeine. Caffeine will have its time as well. So I'm watching the temperature gauge on my camper van. I've been looking into problems that it's going through, and it's fascinating. The temperature's going up and down, but it never goes above what I'm guessing is boiling point. Because I don't think the engine's actually overheating. I think it's something to do with the sensor and like a leak that's causing it to go up and down, but the actual engine temperature seems absolutely fine. And it's got plenty of cooling. And it's really fascinating, like, there's a lesson in everything. Like in the last video I probably mentioned that there's a problem with the battery in the camper van. I didn't realise that starter batteries in cars only last for 5 years. I never knew that. That's news to me. And with a camper van age 7, it's designed to live a lot longer. It's on 64,000 miles. It could do easily another 120,000 miles or more. So that's going to be a lot of batteries it'll have. But yeah, I find that really, really fascinating. So the effect of my van running out of battery does relates to me, right? It's like if my battery, my energy isn't full, I can't start. And it was like this kind of early warning, which was, John, if you're not happy and healthy, and then there's going to be a time when you go and try and go on that journey or try and do a client session, and you're not going to be well enough to do it, and you're just not going to be able to do it. I remember feeling so bad, letting down my wife and daughter for them going shopping that I couldn't drive them. They just took the bus, and actually they both quite enjoy it. They both take it regularly. And my wife was saying, don't be silly. Like it's no problem at all to get a bus. They're back. I think they enjoyed themselves a lot. So that was a fascinating reflection. Now this thing with coolant and temperature I think is also really interesting. As a reflection on me, yeah, maybe I'm not paying enough attention, finding like a very accurate way of measuring my own energy levels. And isn't that fascinating? Those, like when you think of science, modern science, they often obsess about things like, for example, tools of detection. So there's this thing recently where I was listening to this Oxford scientist where he's talking about spectral analysis of planets in a galaxy not that far away, where they identified molecules that on Earth we've only witnessed from as a byproduct of life on Earth. And so they're trying to use it to identify whether there is life on different planets. And it fascinates me that there was, or maybe it's still going, projects like SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, with all kinds of different things. And I remember spending hours in the early 2000s, really before AI became prominent, and here's the big, beautiful road bridge, fourth road bridge, and the old road bridge next to it. But yeah, it was fascinating to hear this guy. I was watching him last night. So this happened a few days ago, and he was describing how they found this this signature. And is the planet, now I'm probably going to get the planet wrong, and you can correct me in the comments if you watch this far. What are we at? Almost an hour. It was like K812b or something like that. It's the name of the planet, or our name for it, our number, our code for it. And they said the signature of life, if this is a byproduct of life, it just won't go away. Like they keep seeing it no matter how they kind of look at it, and so they're almost like trying to disprove, find ways that it's not there. And so I'm just reflecting on also that, because they said if they achieve it, if they can prove that it's that molecule, then that's one thing, right? But they thought that it would take this Oxford scientist, a professor, saying that thought that it would take maybe 20 years for us to be able to detect life. But to be able to do it now, it's so exciting, because when you know how you can detect something, then you can sweep the whole universe for it, right? And especially with our ever-increasingly intelligent AI, you can at the very least like narrow, scan the universe more easily, like use the James Webb telescope, search far deeper across the universe. And it only takes one, and it might just be microbes out in this other planet. I think they suspect it's a water world. Imagine that you could detect life. And wasn't it just a few weeks ago I had this meditation message, which was, this universe is teeming with life. And I've never, it's easy to look at the night sky and think, we're in a desert. And there's just a few lights up in the sky, and they're really far apart. Like that is not really the truth, right? The truth is that this whole universe is just packed and teeming with planets and stars and beings on planets, and so little has been discovered, even in what you might call the spiritual communities, where I could list a long list of different galactic beings that I'm aware of and have interacted with. They are a fraction of what exists out there. These are just some of the more advanced beings that are certainly interstellar capability, interdimensional capability. And I feel like one of the common themes about our spirit guides is they're often in the fifth dimension. Not always, but they're at very least at the fifth dimension or above. And I feel like it can still be a universe filled with life, teeming with life, yet narrower subset of that universe teeming with life is our beings as advanced as the galactic races of our spirit guides. And these include, but not exclusive to, Lyrans, mantis beings, avians, blue rays, Palladians, Orions. What do you call a being from Orion? Orions is Arcturians, Palladians, Arcturians, Zeta, Syrians. There's many more. Just like my mind's a bit slow just now. But yeah, the list goes on and on. And these different beings, it's fascinating that we'd be able to detect them. So I was going down a bit of a rabbit hole about detecting life, because what I was talking about on the temperature gauge going up and down constantly on my camper van is that I also feel guided to learn how to more accurately measure my own energy. So measure my own health, and to have a really frank and transparent way, because at the moment when I watched my camper van struggle going up and down, it's really difficult, right? Like how do I know? I don't know how well it's performing. And the thing is, my van's still going, it sounds great, the acceleration's good, plenty of power, plenty of fuel, the fuel economy's looking good, it's got lots of coolant, it's got lots of oil. So you could describe that as a reflection of me. I've got all the things. I'm happily married, I'm living my dream life, I've got my dream job, and yet if I can't accurately detect, in particular when I'm struggling or when there's a fault, then I'm at real risk of like breaking down, just like my camper van, right? Like I can be caught unaware and unexpected. And I do, I do put a lot of pressure on myself because I'm the main wage earner in our home, and by an order of magnitude, and so I'm constantly putting on pressure to like, care for my family, look after my family, and make sure that they're well provided for. And I feel like many parents, feel that you don't just want the best for your child, but you feel bad for them if you're not doing enough, if you're not being able to afford enough. Second from the right. So I'll need to concentrate for a minute because this road gets a bit funny. Second from the right. So I'm on the second from the right, and this looks correct. Yep, we're doing well. M8. Oh, I need to turn right here. I don't really know why. Oh, it splits. One goes to the airport. I think that's why the road light splits twice in just a few minutes. Oh, look at this cute wee Fiat. This is sort of, you can't quite see it, it's not in camera view yet. This little Fiat that's just turned up. My daughter would love one. Oh, these are the funny roads where they like join. No, we need to go right here. Oh god, these guys look like it. This guy. I said thank you with lights. Yeah, I really don't want to go left over there. You just end up straight in the airport. It'd take ages to get back out. Loads of queues. So, yeah, I think that's really important. Take good care of yourself. And I heard this thing, a phrase or a term or a belief that I've not been aware of before, but I'm sure there's truth in it, which is I heard one of the fellow practitioners in Indian head massage today saying that it could be there could be like a kind of lifespan to how long you can do client sessions for, whether it's massage, reflexology, Indian head massage, whatever. That there's about a 7-year lifespan to it, because after that, you often you end up with your own back problems or physical problems, but also just the effect it has on your energy. It can be very, very draining, which I can also testify to. And I would say, out of all the battles that I have with myself in this work, is that, yeah, one of the hardest aspects of it is how draining it is. And that's that's a very paranormal experience in itself, right? I don't just mean like, oh, I did a session today and it was tiring work. Like, wow, that guy's going fast. Almost double the speed limit. But yeah, it's not like I'm scared of hard work. If you know me and you're listening to this, you know that actually I quite enjoy hard work and doing a lot. Interestingly, a car's overtaking me as we're exiting. It seemed totally unnecessary. So, yeah, what I felt was, and I'm thinking more about the in-person sessions, is that when I'm in the same room in particular and I'm doing like back-to-back client sessions, it's really exhausting. Interestingly, when I'm doing online sessions, energetically they can be draining, but my recovery seems faster, and I think it's somewhat because I'm in my home I'm able to like disconnect quicker. You would think the opposite, right? You would think like, oh, when you work in a well-being center, you can just like drive home and then you're all disconnected. You know, you can turn off your email for the day. You can just relax. But actually, I feel it's almost harder to disconnect, to relax, and wind down. Will I be doing this for another 7 years? Well, you know what's quite fascinating is my retirement age. I'm thinking will be within the next 7 to 9 years. But don't worry. So that would be 55, 57. I think to be able to access my pension right now, I need to be 57. But I'm not even sure what the average pension amount is in the UK. But I think my wife has a small one, and I think I would consider to have a below average one. So, and a lot of this was just because we moved house constantly, and really our pension was the holiday home we sold, so that it would help free up our time, energy, and cash for me to start working for myself, start my business. These are very cool. I don't know if you can see in front. This vehicle in front has 3 canoes, and they're beautiful. Like there's something very beautiful about these long, thin canoes, and I really don't want to be behind them if one falls off. I have seen not far from here, within a couple miles from here, like a digger, like a JCB digger. What do they call it? The bucket, the thing at the front that scoops out sand and earth and all these things. That was on just the bucket part itself. I don't know what they weigh. Is it like half a ton or something? A ton? I have no idea. But one was on the back of the lorry, and it fell off the lorry and landed on the road, right in front of a car next to me, and a car had hit it. This was many years ago, but yeah, it just reminded me of how important it is to pay attention to what's on front of you. These guys all seem pretty well tied down. Anyway, we're coming up to a roundabout, and I'm about to change lane, come alongside it. Yeah, they're big. Beautiful. A funny but not paranormal experience I had here on this roundabout was, I think I got stuck here for an hour in traffic, and I am so glad I was in the camper van, because especially as you get older, having a toilet with you is really handy. But worse, I needed a number 2, a poo, and it was coming. Like there was nothing was going to stop this from coming, and I was just in throes of panic. And anyway, you'll see it in a minute. But basically, on this same roundabout, just around the corner, rather than make a very brown and disturbing mess all over my beautiful camper van, I pulled over almost onto this roundabout itself, this little area. The van just fit, and it would still allow the traffic to drive around it. I put the hazards on and then leapt into the back into the big poo in the toilet. And then this is it here. You see just where the straight ahead there, where the diversion sign is, just in that corner area there. So yeah, I felt very blessed to, in that moment, to be in a camper van. If you're ever thinking about getting a little camper van, a little one, or it's maybe like a medium-sized one, small to medium-sized, it's a great idea as you get older. Especially when you go on day trips and things, you've always got a toilet. The downside is, although it's a toilet, it's basically a large plastic bucket that you fill with wee and poo, and then with some, I just have some bio chemicals in it. It's like a what would you call it? Like it's a bacteria that breaks down the waste, and then it just goes down the toilet. But when you take it home to put it in the toilet, it can be quite grim. To be honest, if it's just mine, I don't know. Psychologically, it's easier. I don't really mind it, and it feels pretty. What's the word? Pretty. I can't think of the word to empty your own food during toilet time. Just that feeling. You're dealing with your own poo, literally. So there's almost like a karmic aspect to it, and that's. I don't know if you're still watching this. Well done. 1 hour 15. I know I started talking about paranormal experiences, and maybe we'll come back to them. But I just love rambling around in circles because there's no one here to tell me to stop rambling and to change subject. But yeah, I really love that aspect of camping in a camper van. Wow, this little car is going really, really slow. This is dangerous. I cannot. This is terrible because we just had to. Sorry, guys. That little car wouldn't let those. It was going too slow to let those cars out, so I got stuck behind it. And the guys couldn't come off and join us. Anyway. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, what I love is like conscious consumption. So I'll give you some examples, and I will do some filming in my camper van. It's just I've been doing really short, like adventures. Like last night, I was just exhausted when I got home. I got to the park up and just went almost. I just ate and went straight to sleep. And what I'd say is that when you're conscious about the water you consume, the electricity you consume, any gas. Now this vehicle doesn't have any gas anymore. We took it out. But if you're thinking gas is like petrol or diesel, it does have diesel. So we would call gas propane or butane. It doesn't have propane or butane anymore. It did originally, and you could use that for the heating system, but it cost about £50 or maybe £25 a day, which is a lot of money, right? Like, I don't know, is that like $30 a day or something? I don't even know the exchange rate between the world at the moment. So yeah, just being conscious of that, plus your human waste, your water and solids. That was really fascinating because it really helped me back when we first got it's when I'm doing, we call it like wild camping, or just, it's not really wild, it's like just off grid, so you're just like not connected to the the grid for electricity or gas or water or waste, not like you have at home. And I remember this was back just before the first lockdowns. Was that 2020? That I just remember being so conscious. I was like, wow, I've got to pay attention to every ounce of electricity, every watt, every watt of electricity. I've got to be careful about how many times I go for a poo or a wee, how much water I consume, just all these things. That fascinated me. I was like, oh, this is really fascinating. So and I just enjoyed that, first of all, and it started to help me think about how abundant I feel, especially in Scotland. It feels very abundant because in Scotland, largely, we often produce more things than we consume, especially like we get a lot of rain water, which is really valuable, right? But we also, with that water, generate a lot of electricity through hydro power stations. And then we have quite a lot of nuclear power stations for the size of the country, and we have a lot, we have a lot less people per square mile than really anywhere else in the UK. We also have where I live, we have a nuclear power station and loads of renewables. So, in particular, wind farms, including some in the sea, in the North Sea. And it's fascinating because when I'm in the camper van, so I talked about last night, when I arrived at my park up for the night, I'd driven for 2 hours. The drive had charged between the drive and a bit of solar, given that it was evening time and solar wasn't really particularly strong. I'd gone from about 20% on the vehicle leisure battery, which can boil about 10 kettles worth of 10 litres of water as a measure. It was at 100%, and I have two separate, like, these kind of portable battery units, the same power, exactly the same size as the leisure battery for the camper van. And I use one of them for a shower in the morning, and then I use one for cooking. I do have a microwave, which I can bring, or an air fryer. I think they're both about 1,000 watts that they use. And it seemed like about 2% per minute it would take from a battery. And then I was also conscious about the water consumption. Yeah, I drained one battery to have a shower. I had a lovely warm shower this morning, that was nice. And then there's a diesel heater and it's ironic that diesel, out of all the things, is like, I heard that the efficiency, is this right, that the efficiency of diesel engines is like 3%, which is tiny, right? Like, I think some of the best efficiencies are our heating systems in our homes, which can be 60, 70, 80, or if you've got like a heat pump, can be 300-400% efficient, because they're taking hot air from outside, taking the heat out of the air outside and dropping its temperature. So that is really fascinating. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to be really interested. I'm just nervous about going away for a week of off-grid camping. I think there'll be one place when I'd stay at a friend's farm that I could lightly at least fill up a little water tank. If I was lucky, I could fill up the whole water tank. But I don't think my water tank will last me that long, and I think it has a little bit of a leak. I think it's 80 litres, but I feel like when I'm seeing clients, I will want to shower. If you're watching this and you're a client, know that I'd love to shower for you. So I'm nice and clean, but you couldn't get really clean with like boiling a kettle and having a sink wash, right? Like, without going into graphic details, you can clean your body well. I'm just conscious that I'd love to go for a run as well, so I kind of want all my cake and eat it. So that's something for me to be mindful of. You can also fill up, like in other countries, as I hear in the US and on Europe. In fact, almost every country that's not the UK, you can go to like service stations and get water. You can even stay overnight or even empty. I think in the US you call it like black waste, but here we call it like a chemical toilet or an Elson point, where you can empty your toilet waste. Now, I think I'll easily not fill the toilets in just 5 days. Like, I think it would easily last that. especially if I'm using other toilets at different times. So, yeah, I think that's really fascinating. Just a conscious consumption. There's a wee doggy in the back seat there, the car in front, very cute. What I would say on this journey is that the temperature gauge is now going up and down much more than it was previously. It just went completely flat, and I wonder if what was happening is it might be just a faulty temperature sensor, which might be bad for the engine. I don't know if it gives any readout to the engine. What's fascinating is everything's fascinating to me. I'm a geek. I have one of these, it's called an ODBC connector, and it's a little Bluetooth plug, and you connect it into the engine computer management system. Oh, it's now 64444, so 4 4s, 6 and 4 4s as a number of miles on my camper van. Thank you. I keep seeing these numbers. Oh, the last one was 6 and all the 3s, which was incredible to see. I keep seeing these patterns, incredible. And 444, I feel it's like the highest aspect of yourself, and then I feel like 555 is like your higher self. It reminds me of my great friend Gil, who's called on Instagram Naked New Yorker. Naked. It's native New Yorker 444. And I remember he'd often say about 555, which was really fascinating, of being like his higher self. Anyway, I really am talking in circles today, and I don't know if I'll be sharing this whole video or not. If I did, I was very brave, because there's a lot of darkness in it too. It was fun to share a bit of the light. I definitely missed my family over the weekend, in part because my wife and daughter were only just back from their adventures to Spain, and they're busy looking at booking another adventure away together in the summer, which should just be fantastic. It's what our lives are made of, right? It's it makes me so happy that it's what my wife wants to do to make the most, especially the time together. Our lives passes by so fast, and she found really cheap flights, and I think it's a really beautiful thing to do, and they get on great together. So yeah, but I would catch up with them. I think they were doing an Easter egg hunt in the garden as well. Just watching my lanes as I travel up here. Just checking on a big lorry behind me. Yeah, looks fine. You're doing well, Binnie. Thank you for getting me to my park up last night and back. Yeah, it was a lovely sleep, very calm and quiet. What was funny last night was just before I went to sleep, my mantis guide, Marita, was showing me, was chatting with me just before I went to sleep, and she's saying, "John, please look out the window tonight and look for mantis ship." And I was like, "Oh, what's a mantis spaceship look like?" And isn't it funny that I'm describing this like it's so matter of fact, because it is just part of my reality now. Because compared to earlier in life, when I had these different experiences, it was just really funny to, for them to be really standing out, to be so different. And now it's like, oh, I talk to aliens all the time now. But yeah, that view was just stunning. I was looking out over this this wonderful view out over the Tay River, the estuary out into the North Sea. And what I loved was I kept one of the blinds open all night. Now, it's bearing in mind that this van has like blacked out windows at the back, so as long as if there's no lights on inside, people can't see you. It's just like a kind of black mirror. But if as soon as you turn the light on inside, like if you turn on the light behind the mirror, like it stops working and they can see you very easily. I have no idea how much it probably would have cost me a bit more in diesel overnight, because I'm sure a lot of heat would have been pumped out through that uninsulated window. But what I do know is also from my infrared camera that the camper van windows are very insulated as far as windows go. I don't really know the difference between the insulation of these different windows, but I think it does make quite a difference. Not just a cold day in hell, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it was really lovely. My Mantis guide said just keep an eye out, and it was so funny because like it seemed very real and powerful for me. My body only ever wanted to face that direction, and I did not want to close the blind, even though I had how to describe it, it's a bit cold sometimes, and I do find the diesel heater, it's quite annoying. Like first of all, it's very dry and very noisy, but it's like a consistent noise, and I'm very grateful for it because I think it's like a 4 kilowatt heater, which is really powerful. Like it easily heats this van. And I don't know what the efficiency is, but I think it's way more efficient than a diesel engine that uses very, very little fuel. I think it might use something like a litre of fuel a night or something. But really not that much. Not when you're... I think this is something like an 80 litre or maybe as much as 100 litre fuel tank on this van. It's like a real large fuel tank. It's sort of the largest factory fuel tank you get. So yeah, my Mantis guide, I mean, consciously I wasn't aware of her turning up, but things happened last night that I can't really consciously explain. I could more easily describe it, and I'm just asking her now if she can explain a bit about what happened. And let me just see what she's saying. It's like a form of, she said it's a form of preparation for upgrades. Ooh, I like that. And now she's giving me a lecture saying, John, you've really got to look after yourself. And she's saying in particular over the next few days, because they're wanting to work on me on upgrades. These feel like DNA upgrades to my psychic abilities, and more. So yeah, I haven't figured out what I'm doing tomorrow morning, but I know it's going to be like an easy morning and early afternoon. I'm not just going to sit at my desk. I think I did that the last time I drove back from Dundee. The next day I just worked, a 14-hour day, and it's just exhausting. So I need to like really pace myself. But yeah, thank you to my guide, Marita, my Mantis guide. When I was asking her what her ships look like, oh yeah, she said they were long and thin. She said because she likes when mantas fly. Is that right? Can flying mantas fly? Well, certainly it feels like she can. I would have thought they'd be too big to fly, but I guess there's no such thing as too big to fly, right? For dinosaurs that can fly. And what I saw was she would like lay forward. It's a bit like almost like a Superman type pose, and fly. And she's saying that's how that position, that kind of lying down, looking forwards position, is very sacred to the Mantis galactic race. And so that's why their ships are shaped like long and thin to mimic this, or should I say, to honor this aspect of them. So yeah, that's really cool. Thank you, Marita. It's lovely to be prepared for an upgrade. And something else happened today. So just after, I don't know where do I start in my days now? They're just filled with paranormal experiences. Almost every hour something's happening. One of them was just on my way back from my Indian head massage training. I got this message from Source, and I'd say it's rare. Well, I'd say it's more common for me to contact Source than it is for Source to initiate a contact with me. And first of all, what happened is I'm walking through the city centre, and there's this beautiful sunshine, like blasting down in the evening sunshine. So I'm walking towards the sun, and this message comes through from Source, which is, I have a message for you. In fact, it's a series of messages, and the first is this is an early warning, an early heads up to tell you that the first one is about to come through. And so I immediately, any being can call itself Source, and right, I could say, I'm John, I'm actually Source. So using my discernment, and don't get me wrong, it felt like Source, like a very high vibration source. Well, it looks like this car is about to pull over, or what? Oh no, it stopped indicating. What I thought was this message was about to come through, and so I just said to my spirit guide, "Is this a message from Source?" And my guide Maya said, "Yes, John. Pay attention." And very, not a mean answer or a low frequency to what she said, just very direct for her. Pay attention. And then I started, and much to my surprise, I started speaking out loud, channeling light language. Not for very long, and it in part was familiar to me, and in part seemed new, like there were new tones and words, sounds and vowels in it that I was not familiar with. And I describe it as my soul language. So the preferred choice of light language that my soul will naturally talk. And my soul was talking to my body. And there was this like private aspect to this, which is that this was an agreement between my soul and Source that I would activate these what feel like upgrades, if you like, for just to keep things at a high level. That my soul would activate these. I just feel this really beautiful heat in the back of my head. My soul would activate the abilities in this lifetime at this time, and so I began. I spoke this light language for a while, and then stopped, and I felt a little bit consciously, a little bit disappointed, a little bit frustrated, because I was like, I want to consciously know what that means. And the very short answer back from Source was, you'll learn in time. like this is the first of several messages. It feels like more than 2 or 3. There'll be like a series of them. It's like, okay, thank you, I respect that. And then just saying thank you, and then just saying, I'll pay particular attention to your health, just like Marisa was saying, like what's coming up over the next few days. What was really fascinating was this aspect of what was fascinating, John? Everything's fascinating. what was fascinating? Yeah, the aspect of the message from source, and then like that being at a specific time. My meditation message this morning was all about explaining divine timing, which was like once an energy level builds up, and I was shown, for example, in an hourglass, like a sand timer, like an egg timer, that as the sand would fill up inside like one of the sides of the hourglass, that when it reached the top, that was the time for things to like flip over, if you like, for an action to happen, an event to happen. And then the events were, because yesterday's video was all about me driving for 2 hours and talking about the fifth dimension ascensions and my experiences and awarenesses of it. But what was beautiful was that in the hourglass, wow, that Tesla was going really fast. It was racing back home for a charge. But when I think about these things together, because none of these things are everything for a reason, even if you haven't quite figured out the reason, right? But yeah, it felt very much like just becoming aware of the connectedness, the interconnectedness of everything, and that there's something building up inside of me, and we're just about to come up on a year since I left my corporate job, has now come up and is now connected with high enough aspects of me that I'm ready for this next range of downloads and upgrades. And that's wonderful, right? Like now that I feel more attuned, certainly my psychic abilities, have never been stronger, and that includes the time in the summer of 2023 when I was really pushing so hard and felt quite egotistical back then, and I would always find myself sometimes like bragging a bit about my psychic abilities, and now I feel like we all have them. So yeah, that's a really beautiful experience that happened today, and you could definitely describe that as paranormal. What else happened today? I had a lovely chat with my class. I will post. There's some class photos taken that everyone agreed to share publicly, so I'll be able to share those of me and my class. And it was lovely being there. Well, there's a propane lorry with loads of propane on the back. You'd not want to be in an accident with that. And just being overtaken by a little camper van. That's cute. It has a giant roof rack on the top called roof rack. That's like a megalithic roof rack. But yeah, it felt lovely to chat with the class, and I think sometimes people feel a bit scared or intimidated by or kind of shut down the conversation when I say, I do lots of psychic work, and what I loved was being very accepted by just a wonderful group of women. I think some of them knew of each other before the training. We only spent 3 days together, but they were very intense days, and I still find it hard to believe consciously that we're only together 3 days. Like it felt like I'd known them for a long time. And yeah, it was so powerful chatting away. One of them said, "Oh, do you feel like we all have psychic abilities?" And what was quite funny is they asked me, and I said yes. I said yes, but you can just choose to develop them, right? We can choose to interact with them and cultivate them. And then they said, they all started, after I said yes, they all started answering the question individually, like they'd asked themselves. And said, "Oh, I can definitely, feel the energy from people. Oh, I can feel, the energy of a room, or I sometimes see auras," or whatever the class was saying. And I really love that. And I just said to them, as a group, said, all these. Oh, why is this car slowing right down? It doesn't look good. It's going really slow. They must have some sort of fault. Oh yeah, they put the hazards on. Oh, what a place to break down. It is not safe for me to stop. Good luck. Hope you make it to safety. I think it is, yeah, it's making it across the bridge, which is good. It's maybe just got a bit of a loss of power. Yeah, I said to them, whenever you experience these things, please do share it. Share it with the world. Speak it out loud at very least. I saw someone's aura today. I had a premonition or a feeling, and I really love that. I also spoke with them about protecting your energy, and that reminds me. A lot of them were very nervous about it. A lot of the class. I mean, it's maybe not surprising that if, you're at a training class and people haven't been running their own practices. But it was really lovely to see that they were getting started. So it reminds me to, excuse me, a yawn, is to share the practitioner meditations with them, and then they can teach them to help protect their energy. So, yeah, that's a 5-day free meditation practice. And it'd be a great way to introduce them to my energy and just some of the practices themselves. I really want some water, but I can't. One-handed, I can't open my own water jug. But anyway, we're just under 10 minutes from home. Yeah, what else can I share? And also, one of the class members, there was something in their aura, like a little orb, and it was quite funny because they were, well, not funny, but it definitely linked to the fact that they were talking about they feared that they were being psychically attacked by someone, that someone was working against them, that seemed like quite jealous, like a jealous energy. And so they could describe very vividly the sensations. There was nothing, what's the word? Nothing really shut down about them. They psychically seem very aware and really quite astute. Yeah, I really love, I'm just so grateful for them all being so open-hearted and welcoming. And it's, maybe I don't give myself enough credit, but I find it difficult, when first, anyone does, first meeting people, and because in part because this has been a pattern, right? Same for the reflexology class, then the Swedish massage class. Sorry, it was the same for meditation training, reflexology training, Swedish massage, Indian head massage training. Is I get very close to people and connect. Really, it feels so lovely connecting with their energy and giving, when I gave them all a hug at the end of the day, their hearts were just blossoming and open to me. And they're all saying, "Oh, John, I'll definitely going to book you in for a session. I think it'll be so exciting." Oh, and the number of mileage now is 64466. Very cool. Thank you for the cool numbers. And I always pay attention. It's when you see signs like this, and signs can be anything, like this 70 sign I'm passing. and 7's like my life path number. Isn't it magical that you can experience these things and then really pay attention to it, celebrate, say thank you for the sign, thank you for the sign. Literally, it's a sign that has 7 on it. It's my life path number, my angel number. Yeah, I am looking forward to getting home. I'm thinking of. I did message a garage tonight. I have no idea if they pick up the message tonight, but I'm going to see if I can get my van into the garage before. I would feel so much better if I got someone to check it out, even if they just say, "Oh, I don't think there's any problem, nothing to worry about." Or when you're back from your trip, just book us in and we'll replace the sensor. Like that would be fine for me. But one of my clients in my 2 assessments today, because we had a written assessment, they got 100% for, yay, woohoo! And from what I hear, because it's not actually marked, the 2nd and 3rd assessments, which are both practical, that I would have got distinction for those if they were marked. Turns out they're just pass or fail. So that was wonderful. It's all passed. Now I just need to do 2 case studies for Indian head massage to qualify for it, which would be lovely to do, given all the effort going to. So yeah, I'm going to find out if I can get the camper van checked in to a garage, get it checked out. checked out, and then I'm also going to I think tomorrow I've just got a newsletter to send then, and I love doing that. I actually really enjoy that time, and so I'll probably do that in the afternoon. And then I've got 2 podcasts. One is with Viviani and Chloe talking about Hell Week. So it's the week that we spent in our intermediate training where I describe these experiences of going to hell and back, and also my quite shocking experiences of what happened. And then I have a podcast with Amanda, who is interestingly, another graduate of the intermediate training. And she's started her own business, and she's looking for some guidance. So that'll be really lovely to help her. It's gonna be like a mix of like a podcast chat, and then I'm also going to connect them with her guides. And so I will be set up in a safe space. So be a bit like a session. And I do feel what's fascinating is that could be a way for me to do, I guess, like conscious, or quantum business mentoring would be a good way of describing it. And Lord knows I've spent enough time in business to know what good business looks like. But I think the biggest challenge we have with our own business is that they're tightly coupled with us, right? Like our feelings, our emotions, our blockages, our superpowers. These are the same things that are reflected in our business because we are our business. Wow, it's beautiful sunshine. Thank you for the beautiful sunshine. I can't believe it's been sunny all the way home. At least my phone didn't overheat, although the GPS stopped showing itself. I can hear it, but I can't see it, which makes it a bit harder if you can't see it. It's also very cold in the van now. It feels a bit colder here in Dunbar, and I've got a roof, one of these roof fans open to cool the van down, and that was fine 2 hours ago. And here comes the sun. Here we go. This is the voice of the sun. I love you, John. I love you too, son. I love you, son. You're my son. It's lovely to be back. What a welcome. Look at all the trees. It's like, this is, when I go into the future in 5D, this is literally what I see. I see this place, which is wonderful. And I can't believe I've been wearing sunglasses this whole time. Yeah, I just see this place where I live, but I see it with much more sunshine and much more trees. Anyway, here we are. Wow, my battery made it up to 37%, so it does charge while I'm driving. I think I started at 21%. My GPS is busy giving me instructions of how to get home, even though I'm so close. It's like, I know where I live. I love that glow like reflected on my face. But yeah, it's just been an amazing trip. Lovely to complete the practical sides of Indian head massage. Definitely a treatment I'll continue to do, and offering it from home, and also Naked Revive when I can get time there. But yeah, this is me clocking off. Thank you so much for an almost a 2-hour video. Thank you, take care.